That one sentence exploded in the cold night air, slicing through the silence like a bullet. London was frozen. The young girl was standing at the end of Westminster Bridge, 1 foot already over the guardrail. The winter wind blew her long wet hair, clinging to an empty and tired face. His eyes looked at the dark River Thames and sparkled by the city lights. His body was small and trembling. His shoulders carried the weight of the world. A world he no longer wanted to live in. Get down from there, please. The man's voice was now quieter, almost trembling. He wears a worn leather jacket, faded jeans, and shoes that were once good 10 years ago. His eyes were sharp, but full of pain. No badge. There is no uniform. Only the pain is familiar. Don't come near me, shouted the girl. One more step, and I'm really going to jump. The man stopped. He raised his hands to his chest, showing that he had no ill intentions. Slowly, he said, you can jump, if that's the only way. But before that, may I sit here for a moment? The girl frowned. What? I'm tired of standing, he said, and actually sat down on the sidewalk of the bridge, just a few meters from the fence. His position is not threatening. He was shivering, but not moving. What's your name? Shut up. Just your name. Liana. The man took a breath. The name pierced him. Her sister's name is Liana. Or rather, Ever. My name is Rafe. Fake name. Sarcastically Liana while staring at the river. You look like an ex-convict. Worse, Rafe replied. I am a former soldier. Liana opened her eyes. A momentary curiosity kept his legs from moving. What happened to you? Asked Rafe. His voice was still calm, as if they were just two strangers talking at a bus stop. That's too much for one night. Liana was silent for a long time. Then, in a low voice, he said, I lost my mother last year. Suicide. My father remarried 2 months after her funeral. I got accepted to the best college, but not a single day felt alive. I sleep 3 hours a day. Eat once. No friends. Nobody cares. Rafe just listened. His eyes slowly lowered. A light rain began to fall, like the whisper of the sky. You know, Liana, he said quietly. I've tried jumping too, in different places, but the tightness is the same. Liana turned her head slightly for the first time. His eyes are swollen, full of tears. What's holding you back? He whispered, a man who doesn't even know my name. He just said, if you die tonight, you'll never know how many people actually want you to live. Liana let out a long sigh. And he's right? He asked. Rafe stared at the river. I'm still looking for him. Silence. And when Liana closed her eyes, her body began to lunge. The iron fence creaked. He no longer has the energy to survive. The head is tilted. Breathing is heavy. Without thinking, Rafe got up and jumped over the fence. He grabbed Liana's body just as the girl began to fall backwards. His screams echoed in the quiet night. Liana. Rafe pulled him up with all his might. His body almost came tumbling down. The sound of sirens roared in the distance, approaching. Police cars stopped traffic. Some pedestrians ran. A tourist picks up a mobile phone and records everything. Within seconds, Liana's arms were full. He pulled her until she fell into his arms, crying so hard in the bosom of a stranger he hadn't even known an hour ago. Someone knocked on the door of his personal space. Personal assistant came in, brought a tablet. Sorry to bother you, sir. You should see this. Harry looked up. He was wearing a gray hoodie and casual pants. The day should be ordinary. But not after he saw the tablet screen. The video footage is 52 seconds long. Title, Mysterious Man Saved College Student from Suicide. The nameless hero. Harry looked at the man's face. Leather jacket. Hair is rather longish. Eyes full of wounds. It's freezing. No way. He muttered. Do you know him? Asked the assistant. Harry stood up. His heart is beating fast. Yes. I think he died in Operation Black Round in Kabul. No. There's no way he's alive. What is his name, Your Majesty? Harry looked at the man's face in the video once more. Rafe. Rafe Morgan. His real name is Raphael Mortlock, one of our shadow soldiers. And he carries a secret that should never come out to the public. Liana opened her eyes slowly. White ceiling. Antiseptic smell. Quiet beeps from the monitoring machine. His body was limping, and the world felt like it had just restarted. The light of the room flashed softly, and someone sat in a chair by his bed, reading a shabby book with a torn cover. Rafe thought he realized Liana was awake. Slowly, he closed his book and looked at her. "You're safe," he said in a low voice. Liana was silent. His gaze wandered, then returned to the man's face. "Why are you still here?" he muttered, almost embarrassed. "Because I know what it's like to wake up and feel sorry for not dying," he answered honestly. "But even worse is waking up and feeling alone." Liana did not answer, but her tears began to fall. This time he couldn't stand it. Rafe stood up. He reached into his pocket and placed a small piece of paper on the bedside table. "This is the address where I used to hang out. It's not a special place, just there's free coffee and an old couch." "What is that place?" "His name is Anchor, a small pub on the south side of the river. I help clean the kitchen there, sometimes play guitar Friday night." He smiled lightly. "If you want to talk, or just sit still." Liana nodded a little. "Then hold Rafe for a moment before the man leaves. You're not an ordinary person, are you?" Rafe stopped in the doorway. His shoulders stiffened. "There are no really ordinary people, Liana." And it went. Harry walked back and forth in his room, tablet in hand. He played back the video for the umpteenth time, watching Rafe's every move. "Why are you showing up now?" His own whisper. "You should die with the others." He opened a digital folder labeled Mortlock Classified on his personal tablet. The file was locked with 3 layers of encryption. After entering the fingerprint and retina verification code, the secret document opens. Name: Raphael Mortlock Operation Code. Background: 017 Status: Missing, presumed dead note. Storing confidential data related to neurosuggestion experiments in unofficial military programs. Should not fall into the hands of the public. Potentially dismantling networks of British and American military elites. Harry massaged his temple. If the press knew Rafe was alive, it's not just a media crisis. "That's a revolution," he said softly. He looked at his personal assistant. "Find him. Use non-governmental teams. Don't use MI6. I'm not sure who can still be trusted." Rafe sat in a quiet corner of the pub, playing the guitar to a soft, dark melody. Some elderly customers listened while drinking beer. In the corner of the bar, a middle-aged female bartender glanced at him with a concerned look. "That song again, Rafe?" he muttered. "It's just an unfinished song," he replied. The sound of pub doors creaking. Someone's coming in. College jacket. Nervous look. Liana. He stood in the doorway, staring at the room full of smoke and dim light. Rafe stopped playing guitar. "Hey," he said softly. "You came." Liana sat slowly on the sofa near the small stage. "I don't know why," he said honestly. "Rafe handed me a glass of warm tea." "Because you want to know why a stranger like me would want to save you?" "Yes." Rafe looked at him for a long time, then said quietly, "Because I failed to save my sister, and I swear I will not fail again, if given a second chance." Liana froze. "What happened to him?" "He suffered from depression after I came back from the war. I was too busy with my own nightmares and traumas. One night, I was drinking too late and didn't hear a call from him." Rafe sipped tea. His left hand shook slightly. "He was found 2 days later, in a dorm room. The letter is still folded on the table." Liana looked down. He squeezed his own hand. "And since then, you blame yourself?" Rafe nodded. "Every day." A man with sunglasses sits in a black van parked opposite the pub. He spoke through earphones. "Target confirmed. Raphael Mortlock is alive. Interaction with young women, the possibility of victims being rescued. Instruct the next step." The voice from the other end echoed flat. "Don't come any closer. We need to know. Does he still remember everything, or only part? And if he remembers everything, pausa, then kill him, and remove everything involved." After the customers disperse and the pub lights begin to dim, Rafe turns the key to the back door of the kitchen, taking Liana to a small basement that he turns into a kind of dwelling. Red brick wall. Dusty bookshelves. One small bed. A metal box with military symbols in the corner of the room. Liana looked around. "You live here. It's quieter underground," Rafe replied. "And away from the sound of gunfire or bad thoughts." Liana stared at the metal box. "That's what?" Rafe approached and hesitated for a moment before unlocking the box. Inside, there are some old photos, passports with different names, and one maroon USB drive. He took the top photo, a picture of himself standing with a group of people in uniform in the desert, all smiling. "This is my unit. We used to be called the Shadow Team," because we did things that even the army wouldn't admit. And now they're all dead. Rafe stared at the USB drive. And I keep the one thing that makes me hunted, even by those who used to call me a hero. Liana held her breath. You said, people want you gone. There, from the government. Rafe did not answer. He just stared at the drive in his hand for a long time, before putting it back in. Liana sits alone on a park bench, watching the birds in the pond. The look on his face was no longer innocent or fragile. He pulled out an old cell phone from under his jacket, not the same one he had brought to the roof that night. He turns on the phone. The screen turns on and goes straight to the message that has been locked with special encryption. Sender. Sovereign.piravel message. The subject is alive. Direct interaction with Mortlock. Prepare phase 2. Liana typed a reply. Understood. The subject believes I am a victim. Will continue infiltration. Harry sat in front of a large screen that showed Liana and Rafe's faces in various surveillance angles. He played a video from the previous day, the scene of Liana standing on the roof before being rescued. He stopped the video right at the moment Liana looked down and enlarged her expression. Not fear. Unless, calm down. Too quiet. My assistant said you were just a normal student, Harry muttered. But you stared at death as if you had tamed it. It pinched his chin. Who are you, Liana? Rafe was lying in his bed, but couldn't sleep. An old voice again resonated in his ears, a cry. Explosion. The last breath of a friend, and one female voice. Don't trust anyone, Rafe. Even those you saved. He opened his eyes, sweating. Then, the sound of footsteps on it. Slow down. Not as usual. He grabbed the knife that was under the bed. Steps slowly up the small staircase leading to the kitchen. The sound stopped. Suddenly, the lamp exploded. Total darkness. Who's there? He exclaimed, and no answer. But he knew. Tonight, someone wasn't coming to visit. You should have died in Kandahar, whispered a foreign voice before a knife rolled down Rafe Mortlock's neck. The blade flashed in the dark, but Rafe reacted faster than the shadow that attacked him. He dropped the body to the side, rolled down a metal table, and kicked a wooden chair back at the attacker. There was a sound of the body falling, then a muffled snort. Rafe crawled towards the shelf, picked up an old shotgun hidden behind a wine rack, and pointed the barrel at the door. Quiet. Then, the door opened slowly. But there's no one behind it. Just a piece of paper fell from the doorway. Rafe took it. There, only one sentence is written. Even ghosts can be hunted, Rafe. And the little black triangle symbol, a sign he knew too well. The mark of the shadow unit he once left behind. A sign that should have died with him. Prince Harry stood in front of the big screen. His face was serious, almost frozen. Next to him, a woman stood. A former agent he's been recruiting for a long time is back. Olivia Marwood, a former MI6 counterinfiltration specialist, silver-haired, sharp-eyed. He was attacked, Olivia said. And only one group left that symbol, the Raven Protocol. Harry nodded. What I'm worried about is right. The Kandahar operation is still active. And they know about Liana. He is a target, or the key to all this? Harry didn't answer. He just stared at the screen that showed Liana sitting in the library, looking like an ordinary student. Too ordinary. Flying sand. Explosion. Body lying. Blood. Rafe drags one of the little ones from the ruins of a school building that was bombed, accidentally, by his own allies. Behind him, 3 soldiers with black triangle symbols burned documents. One of them looked at Rafe and said coldly, "Our job is to keep secrets, not lives." And Rafe could only look at the boy he was holding tightly, dying in his arms. Liana goes into the kitchen, finding Rafe already prepared with coffee and a wound on his arm that has not been treated. You're hurt. A little nostalgic yesterday. Who attacked you? Rafe looked at her, trying to read deeper than Liana's eyes. Maybe someone thinks I don't deserve to live. Liana approached and slowly bandaged the wound. Their hands are touching, but the atmosphere is not romantic. Tense. It's like 2 actors hiding their scripts. Liana said softly, "You saved my life that night, Rafe. But that doesn't mean you can hide yourself from me." Rafe turned quickly. What do you mean? Liana only smiled faintly. You're too calm for someone who was almost killed. Harry opened a confidential digital document marked Mortlock Incident Level 5 Clearance. Inside, There was a name he had never seen before. Lahanna Orloff cloned identity. Probably involved with Raven's unit. He pressed the intercom button. Olivia, I need Rafe's exact location. Now. And send a team. To save him. Harry stared at the screen. No. To save us all from him. A masked man is sitting behind the table. In his presence, the drone footage shows the movements of Liana and Rafe. Mortlock lives, he said. Then, from the shadows, a single female silhouette appeared standing quietly, with a thick Russian accent. And that means, time to wake up Phase 3, he whispered. Activate Mercury. If you're not Liana, then who are you? Rafe put a gun to the girl he once saved. Liana looked straight at the end of the barrel of Rafe's gun. He's not shaking. Quite the contrary, he smiled a little, calmly, almost like defiantly. You're not going to shoot, Rafe. Say your real name. Now. Rafe's voice was full of pressure. If I said my name wasn't Liana, would you regret saving me that night? Answer. Liana took a deep breath. Then, slowly, he removed the small necklace from her neck. In it, a blurry photo of a middle-aged man in Russian military clothes and handwriting. To my little Orlov. From Dad. 1997. My father is Sergei Orlov, commander of Operations Sirius 7, a secret project of biocode and post-Soviet infiltration engineering. Rafe froze that it's a name that has been buried by Western intelligence since 2 decades ago. The man who allegedly created a network of sleeper agents that couldn't be detected, even by MI6 biometric identity scanners. And if Liana is right, then he wasn't the only student who tried to commit suicide. He is the key alive of a project that should never have existed. Olivia Marwood delivered new findings. The real name of the girl, Anastasia Orlova. She disappeared from an orphanage in Dnipro, Ukraine, when she was 12 years old. After that, there is no record of anything, until her appearance as Liana in London. But his fingerprints are not in the NATO system. Prince Harry asked flatly, is it possible he's a sleeper? Olivia turned quickly. Not a sleeper. He's a generator. The biological son of Orlov means he can activate a certain genetic code. We're talking military-grade biotechnology. And why did he try to kill himself? Because he began to remember. Little Anastasia sat alone in a dark cell. His eyes were swollen, his hands trembling, but he drew something on the wall with chalk. A circle and a small black triangle in the middle. Why did you draw that, son? Asked the duty officer. Nightmare sign. Every time I sleep, that mark appears in my body. Rafe walked restlessly. He couldn't sleep all night. Liana Anastasia is now asleep upstairs, but Rafe isn't sure whether to protect her or hand her over. He turned on the TV. News report. A mysterious explosion occurred at the Biocyber Defense Laboratory in Budapest. 17 dead. The K9, Mercury data, is missing. The name is Mercury. Same with the so-called masked silhouette the night before. Rafe stared at the blank screen. Then it dawned. Liana is not the only one they hunt. In a sterile room, masked men monitor a screen full of genetic symbols. Mercury began to bind. He whispered to a woman in a black uniform, with icy eyes, stood next to him. We need the main activator. We already have him. Mortlock will bring it straight to us. Or he will destroy it with his own hands. Harry stared at the screen. Rafe was detected within a radius of 50 kilometers. But the order is clear. Do not catch. Don't kill. Observe. Let him lead us to them. But something disturbed his inner being. It opens private encrypted emails. One message from an old contact, a former informant in Russia. If you're reading this, then you're also being hunted. Do not trust anyone, not even your own. And if you ever see that triangle again, run. A black helicopter flashed over the lifeless trees, then disappeared into the fog. Under him, 3 shadows moved quickly. Rafe, Liana, and a local trail hunter named Dreen. This place, it's not in any military map, Dreen murmured, his breath frozen in the air. Rafe stared at the old compass his father had left behind. The only tool that could lead them. Liana clasped her jacket tightly, still thinking about the picture in the basement, a photograph of a young woman whose face resembled her, hanging on the wall, with traces of a puncture in the chest. Rafe, who is he? Rafe didn't answer right away. But we know it was Sarah Albridge, an MI6 spy, and Liana's biological mother. Flashback base London. 1999 Sarah Albridge reported to Prince Charles. Orloff's project is already developing much faster than we thought. Children are being changed, not just genetically, but psychological. They are born without empathy. And just then, in a dark corner of the room, teenage Rafe was quietly listening. Returned to the forests of Albania. Suddenly, a silent rifle shot broke the silence. Dreen collapsed instantly. Blood flowed from his temple. Rafe pulls Liana behind the stone, breath hunting. The intruder has arrived. From behind the bushes, four figures in unofficial uniforms appeared, their eyes empty, movements stiff. They were not ordinary people. Liana looked at one of them, and like deja vu, her eyes widened. I know them. They're from the dream camp. They were kids. Them, like me. MI6 headquarters secret briefing. ROM Olivia showed Prince Harry satellite images. The laboratory is there. They called it Kova Jacket, the grave of blood. It used to be a Nazi experimental base. Then it was taken over by the Soviets. Then it disappeared from the map. Harry looked at the blurred photo of Liana and Rafe, who managed to escape the shootout in Budapest. How can two civilians penetrate a restricted zone that even the CIA is reluctant to approach? Olivia looked at him intently. Because they're not civilians, Harry. At least, one of them is not. Hidden laboratory interior of DEATH. Rafe and Liana managed to get through a secret tunnel. The walls are strewn with engravings of strange symbols, mixed with frozen blood and traces of peeling paint. Liana touched the wall. I've seen all this in a dream. But why don't I remember ever being here? They passed room by room, until they came to a single metal chamber with the inscription Vitrina 7. Inside, a large tank filled with a greenish liquid, and children's body in capsules. Still alive. Given a number, not a name, Liana approached one of the capsules. Number 143. Little brown-eyed girl, just like her. Rafe, this is my brother. Prince Harry's headquarters. Long NIGHT. Harry receives a radio signal from a field agent who infiltrates Albania. The target is in the facility. But we can't tell which is the enemy and which is the victim. Harry paused for a moment, then say, slowly, but surely, let me go there. Treason within MI6. Olivia opens her computer and finds a strange encrypted email with the Orloff logo. As he clicks, the screen turns red, and a voice from the computer says, you have to choose, Olivia. Continue your loyalty to them, or go back to the family. You know where your blood comes from. His eyes widened. The last room core laboratory. Liana and Rafe arrive at a dazzling white room, clean as heaven. But in the middle, there is one experimental chair with leather belts and chipped wires. On the wall, a large screen turns on automatically. Appears the face of the masked man, a silhouette that has been hunting them since episode 1. You have arrived, Anastasia. Who are you? I am your brother, the first son of Orloff, the one you replaced in a dream. But I am. Never fall asleep. End of episode 4. Cliffhanger. Liana was smothered from behind. An injection was thrust into her neck. His eyes widened, his body convulsed. Rafe screams, trying to fight back, but is held back by two men in white. The last screen. Liana sits on the experimental chair, slowly smiling, but his eyes were empty. His voice is not his. I'm home. The camera hangs in the corner of the ceiling, filming the body of Liana, who is now sitting quietly in the experimental chair. The glare of dazzling white lights illustrates the sharp contrast between the fragility of its body and the chill of gripping technology. Liana smiled, but not with the smile that Rafe knew. Who are you? Asked Rafe in a trembling voice. Liana tilted her head. Me? I'm Anastasia. And you? You're just a remnant of the trauma of a failed program. One by one, the memory in his brain was reset. But what is terrible is not the loss of memory, rather what appears in its place. MI6 headquarters. Olivia's OFFICE. Olivia opened secret dossier, Project AVE, a variant of Awakening. The document mentions the names of those involved: Sarah Albridge, Boris Orloff, and Prince Charles. Old photos show Sarah holding a dark-eyed baby, while Prince Charles stands next to her, dressed in military uniform. Date under the photo, November 7th, 1996. Olivia murmured, they didn't kidnap Liana, they created her. Harry, on a secret flight to Albania. Harry stared at the bracelet on his hand, not an ordinary bracelet, but a prototype interlinked chip made by MI6. The only device capable of accessing Subject A's mind. He knew he had to go into that room. But more than that, he knows Rafe is nothing if Liana chooses not to get to know him again. Kova Laboratory Dream Room INTERIOR in a place called the Synchronization Zone. Rafe is allowed to speak to Liana, who is inside a digital dream simulation. Liana sits in a snow-covered garden, looking at the gray sky. "Do you remember the daisy you planted as a child?" asked Rafe slowly. Liana turned her head. For a moment her eyes blinked strangely, and tears flowed, but then her face was flat again. "The flower withered because you did not return." Rafe gritted his teeth. "I don't know who brought you. I've been looking for you for 15 years, Liana." Elsewhere, Olivia and her team find the main server. They manage to break into the Kova system and find a secret audio log file. The subject, Anastasia, began to show the ability to absorb personality. It can mimic trauma and exploit it. We have to erase all unstable memory, including those related to Rafe. Harry goes into the experimental room. The confrontation of two WORLDs. Harry and Rafe argue about how to save Liana. Harry wants to use the interlinked chip, but Rafe knows the risks. If synchronization fails, Liana could suffer permanent brain fragmentation. "He's not an experiment, Harry. She was the one who saved me from hanging. Now, I instead have to save her from herself." Harry nodded slowly. "Do it your way, Rafe. But if his heart rate drops, I'll stop all this." Peak scene. Rafe gets into Liana's mind. Through a sophisticated system that combines technology and neurology, Rafe gets into an imaginative world within Liana's head, a small wooden house on the edge of a lake. Full of snow. He saw a small Liana drawing on the floor, next to which sat a dark figure with a blurred face, a symbol of trauma, a symbol of Orloff. Rafe slowly approached. "Liana, you know who I am." Little Liana looked up. "I know. You're the guy who always disappears after saying he's coming back." Suddenly, the dark shadow stood up, resembling Rafe but with blank white eyes. He whispered, "Who loved him, also hurt him. You have no right to come in here." An inner battle ensued, not physical, but mental. Every time Rafe tries to reach Liana, a shadowy figure projects his childhood wounds. But Rafe continued to walk, bleeding psychologically, until he finally stood in front of the little Liana and knelt down. He took out a small object, a dried daisy, which the Liana had once planted. "This I kept for 15 years. Liana's tears flowed, and the moment the flower touched her, the wall of reality in her mind collapsed. Real-world heart rate Luber on MONITOR. Liana screamed. Her body convulsed. Harry shouted, "We lost it." But the beat stabilized again and his eyes opened slowly. He looked at Rafe and smiled. This time, his smile was his own. "Rafe,